All right.
So, so being a big energy like myself, it's very hard to connect on the same level with people, even though I can get on with anyone, right? Because in order to really connect with somebody, they've got to essentially be the same themselves, think the same, act the same, do the same. And because I'm completely extreme, it's like a rare frog multicolored with four ears and two heads trying to find the same, which is extremely rare. So what comes of that is extreme loneliness or this forever getting to know different people until they realize, fucking hell, I'm a bat, this guy's a frog, we're not the same, and then they fuck off. And so you either have sex without the connection until you find the connection because we're animals and we need to have sex, or you wait for the connection, which simply could be never, ever, right? And so now you're left with sex with a slight connection until they realize that you're not the same. Sex with no connection, which I do not really want. So it's like, okay, back to the drawing board. Or you wait for this proper connection where you get sex. But it's like, well, you need to live now. You can't live for the future because this person might not come along. But at the same time, you can't have sex with that connection because it's like fucking a rock. And so what does one do? And what I'm trying to say to you is that no connection, relationship wise, will ever last, no matter how hot they are, if when you finish having sex, you still don't connect with them as friends as you need to do beforehand. You need to connect with them beforehand and afterwards. Otherwise, you will literally be, you might as well be fucking blow up dull.
I love that this is the conversation that we're having because I was actually on the same wavelength of like, I wonder, like, let's talk about relationships because, yeah, pretty much the same thing. I was just having a conversation like yesterday or the day beforehand that, um, I had sex 6 times in 2020, and it was simply because, like, physically I needed to. And so I found like the most and nearest compatible person that I already was like in communication with to engage with. And even then, so it was like, damn, that sucked. So, but it was a need. It was like a true need. Like it was like I needed that drive, the energy to like come into my body to like empower me a little bit, if that makes sense. Because I
Abs-
also, I mean, sex is so powerful. It's such a powerful act, and you're taking your most creative life force energy and engaging it with another person if they're on that same wavelength where they understand that that is their most creative life force energy.
yeah. So, for example, I have been, having sex and there's no connection, but there has to be some form of connection. It can't just be like they speak Russian and you speak Chinese and you don't. There's no communication, right? There has to be at least something, right? And then when there is something, you naturally want more, but you're like there is just isn't more, and you can feel it. And so, how are you supposed to really have sex, enjoy sex when you're not really connecting? Because it's not just okay, this feels good, then I come. It's that shared. Are you okay? How are you feeling? You're working together. It's like building a business in partnership. You got to build each other up, and it's that joint connection. And people don't seem to understand why I'm so sexual. It's not because I need to fuck. It's I understand the power of sex. Everything in life is created from that feeling of needing to come, right? But it's not about coming, it's about that process building up to it. It fucking takes over your body, their vibration you pick up on, every single part of your body is it's like sensory overload, right? Chemical overload. That's the biggest high in life before you come, because when you come it's gone, right? You start again.
Right.
And and it's not and people don't understand the power of what it does to oneself. And because I'm such a sexual person, because I have high energy, that comes with because I have high energy, I can't connect with many people. It's like catch 22. It literally is in terms of ratio, but just extra more frustrating. It'll be the same as
Well, there's someone out there, there's multiple someone's out there that you can totally match with.
yeah, I believe in like say a twin flame, which is one other human out there who is the most compatible, and everyone else is not as compatible, but still very compatible. But what comes of that is if you are the same energy, you attract, but you also repel. So you can't be the same because you will repel because they are exactly like you. They want things their way. They're room for negotiation because it just won't work. And I know this from experience. And so it's like, okay, maybe like two magnets, they are already one. North
It's
and south.
polarity.
North and south, right? If you have north, it connects with south, which means it's different. And if you turn it round when north is facing north and south facing south, it repels. But what does that
Right.
mean? Well, what it means is that it's already the same in the first place, right? It's already the same. You're either one in terms of energy or you're not. And trying to get two people together who physically aren't the same, even though spiritually they may be the same, is the same as flipping around those magnets and you're naturally going to repel. So therefore, it comes
Well,
down to
I think that's why we have our physical bodies is to help to create that polarization, you know, because if we are so similar energetically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, whatever interests we have, our dreams, the visions that we're working towards, amazing. Okay, the likelihood of having some type of opposition, right? Just from what you're saying of like the strength of the poles being so similar. Well, that's why we have the man body and the woman body is to help to counter that and allow us to like fully engage.
so yeah, so that basically says to me that when people say they want a soulmate, they mean they want somebody who gets them the most, that strong connection. But it doesn't mean that they are like, the twin flame version, the one. Because if you are the same, you'll repel. And it would be like war and peace all the time. Whereas if you have that difference, that is wiggle room. So you still connect with like say 90% of the time, but that 10% difference allow them to see the situation differently, where it can balance it. So that polar opposite thing, as I'm realizing, because I've met my twin flame. Well, I met somebody who I thought was my twin flame, and then I met what I now know is probably my twin flame, right? But that person is so similar. But that person is so similar to me that I'm probably not going to end up being with her. So it's like, well, do I go down to
No, no,
vice?
no, 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 no. Okay. I mean, I want that to like be rewritten. However, you need to go in and rewrite that. Um, unless it's what you want, unless you want to not be with that person, there's no reason for you to perpetuate that storyline. I mean, it takes significant inner work to create the true resonance that will allow you to actually remain aligned, and that is going to essentially be like you just constantly filling your own cup up and never being dependent on the other person to do it, and knowing that you guys will continue to rise and you can continue to collaborate and bounce ideas and go off for a week or two to another country and be confident that your counterpart is doing whatever they need to be doing for those 2 weeks, and there's not any fear around the separation. If anything, there's just like the most deep, profound faith and trust during that separation, knowing that you're just cultivating yourself even deeper so that you guys are even more so resonant.
So, for example, right, I've been thinking about recently, sex and love is like testicles and a cock. They come together. One without the other is useless. Testicles make the sperm. Without the cock, it can't release the sperm. So it needs to be both, right? Otherwise, it's just two bits of flesh. So you
Well, yeah,
need
you can't really do much without one or the other.
exactly right. So you need both. And I'm starting to think to myself, growing up, we want love, right? We see our parents have love or whatever, Princess Jasmine and fucking Prince Charming, yeah. So we see love, and at the same time, we have individual needs of sex. And it's like, do couples have sex? It's debatable, right? So therefore, you could say love dominates or having a companion dominates. But then you see people cheat because they need the sex. So it's like, okay, well, obviously, sex is a big part. And it's like maybe they do not come hand in hand. There is people out there who have such a loving connection with their partner, knowing that they can't fulfill their sexual needs. So say the wife will happily let the husband go off and find the sex if they keep their connection of companionship, support, love, or whatever. And it does work the same as people who share or sleep in different beds. They get great night's sleep. They got all the room to wiggle about. There's no snoring. They can sleep like a starfish, and they are far happier, right? And so it's like maybe this thing about love and connection and sex is man-made. What I mean by man-made is that energy is already attracted to become one. Physical animals, right? forget like penguins and pigeons who stay together forever and all that shit. In the animal kingdom, things mate and then they fuck off. Like cells, they merge together, divide, and fuck off. Nothing really stays together for longer than that moment of, attracting and dividing and shagging and coming, right? So maybe this thing about staying together, love and sex, is man-made. Because if people are independent, I know plenty of people who are independent, for example, and they go to work, they've got their own flat, they've got a dog, they've been so independent for so long that they never really ever have relationships. They have dates, they see people, they fuck, but it never stays. Why? Because they've had so much time by themselves to know who they are, love who they are. They're so happy just doing what they need to do without having to fucking ask where you're going, what you're doing, and all these questions that they can't really settle for anything less. And people, when they get together, is often from school, from college, you sort of just merge into a relationship and you just think, oh, let's just get back together because there's like no one else out there. And so you just put up with nonsense. But in reality is that you don't know who you are. And then, years to come, the kids move out and then you think we're two different people. It's like, well, you fucking were when you were 18. Like, what did you expect? And then the pattern happens again. But maybe the two can't come together. And really, it comes down to if you've got that strong connection, like me and my twin flame, we both have said that we can see whoever we want, whenever we want, because we've got that connection. So people yearn this connection. But if you have that connection, then, and you can both see whoever you want when you want, and it becomes like a conversation with your friend, like, oh, fuck this guy, he was really fit, big cock, oh my God, not as big as mine, yeah, and you can speak like friends down the pub. You can speak like friends down the pub. That is an amazing thing to love somebody, to speak like that, knowing that she just fucked somebody else, and you're okay with it because of the connection you have, as you said.
See, I think it's for me, my perception is it's a matter of there's like expectation and then there's true soul-filled desire. And we need to be able to decipher which is which and then integrate our true soulful desire. So for myself, plenty of promiscuity, plenty of doing whatever I wanted with whoever, whenever I wanted, especially, I mean, like before I hit 20, really. And then at 20, I started practicing celibacy. And since then, I'm now 24. I've, practiced at least 50% of these last 4 years have been celibate. Like no self pleasure, anything, because I I was like I was figuring out how to pleasure myself, my soul, my energetic presence, right? Without the need of physical validation, I guess. Just really, really, really cultivating my electric body is kind of like what I call it, and mastering my relationship. And so that's kind of like a hands-off experience. And I've even been able to literally like lay down, hands here, and send the electricity through my body to pleasure myself. Which is to me like, I don't do it often, but it was something that I was just practicing, acquainting myself with myself before really allowing myself to acquaint myself with another person and align with another person, after knowing that I had exchanged my energy with so many people, like a couple thousand times. I was like all over the place. I had to really reel myself back in as much as possible. And then I explored polyamory. And for some time, that's what I wanted. And I wanted it because I hadn't aligned with somebody that I felt I really wanted them to support me in meeting my needs, as much as they could. It was like, you do this for me, but you don't do that much for me. So I'm going to look over here and they'll do that for me. And they can only do so much. So I'm going to also look over here and then they can do that for me. And then again, I met the person that I believed to be my twin flame. Now I believe that it was like like a false twin flame that really sent me into 2 years of balancing my masculine and feminine energy, like no distractions. That was like all I was doing for like 2 years. But when I had met that person, I just loved him so much that I was like, I would literally devote my lovership to that person. And when I had that realization, I was like, okay, if he's not the one, then there's somebody else that I'm going to want to devote myself to even more so. And not devote myself to beyond my devotion to my own self, but everything that's like overflowing. Of course, I have my friends and my family, but that one person that I can streamline, like that really good, delicious overflow, and they want to reciprocate that. And we know that we are pillars as individuals and that we can continue to climb and expand in life. And there's never going to be any questions asked of like, okay, whose energy are you bringing into the bed with us? Because if you've exchanged your energy with 3 or 5 or 17 people in the time that you were off on your work trip or whatever, then their energy is now accumulated inside of you. And now you're going to put it inside of me? I think not. That's kind of the establishment that I have with it now.
See, that's the thing. I always knew that there was one out there. And so, therefore, as I said, I had a choice to do nothing until 28 when I found that person, or have sex and enjoy the time up until. And then I met this person on Tinder. I moved out to London, right? Because I wanted to get to know this person because I was convinced that this was the one or she was the one. Moved to London. I ended up only seeing her twice, right? And living in London for 6 months. What does that say? You could say that, well, she never was the one. You could say it was so intense that it was like, oh my God, this
What
twin
do we
flame en-
do?
this twin flame energy out of nowhere just suddenly moved to London. Like fucking hell, this guy like just he's just moved to London, and so you push them away, but it doesn't mean that it's the wrong energy. It doesn't mean that they're not your twin flame. It just means that the intensity of, oh my God, this person who just gets me, knows me immediately out of nowhere, could be the reason why you push away. And if you look at the twin flame
Well,
energies, they push and they one's the chaser, one's the puller, one's the chaser, one's the puller, until
I
one
don't,
stops.
that's like an old story though. That's a story that people like choose to participate in, and it doesn't have to be the story for all, soulmates or twin flames or whatever you want to call it. If you're repelling something, that's because somewhere inside of you you still have resistance that you're holding on to. And so it's like, okay, do I want to be with this person? Yes or no? Yes? Well, then you've got to do the work to get rid of the resistance. And then maybe once you work through the resistance, it's not that person anymore. And you've attracted someone who's even more aligned with you. And okay, so I have just recently aligned with someone who it's like the energy that we are sharing is like, oh, like immediately like sevenfold the energy that I was sharing with that guy that I met a couple years ago. And it was so intense. We haven't even met in person yet. Um, and it was so intense. Like literally, we're thinking the same things all day, every day. We're doing the same things at the same time throughout the day. And both of us went into major withdrawal mode because of the deepest subconscious fears that come up when you meet someone that you truly align with. And these subconscious fears are so societally programmed through television and movies and past experiences and even genetics that it's like, okay, at this point, my intention for the last week has been faith and self belief. And I'm applying it to everything because I know for me, one of the reasons why I withdrew was for monetary reasons. Like, this person is so successful and he's been successful since he was like before he was even in his 20s. He's been like doing such amazing things, and I struggled to keep a house and a bed, and a room throughout all of 2020. I was like, this guy's gonna want nothing to do with me. Like, I'm just starting to get my finances back together, and I projected some of the gnarliest fears, and then it was like mirrored, and so then we both withdrew, and then we're like, hey, sorry, we're withdrawing right now, but then we agreed that we needed to take 2 weeks to like be our own energy again because we already were just meshing like insanely that we had to withdraw to remember our sovereignty, and we haven't even met yet.
Yeah, so it's the same with what I believe was my twin flame. We hadn't even met. It was just phone calls and voice notes and texts. And then, like I said, I met her twice in London in 6 months. And I said, it's like we've married and got divorced in 6 months because we were just in that harmony, getting along, having a laugh. Everything was great. Then we went to war. It was like started to repel, and it was arguments and shouting. And then, to cut long story short, I sent like this message saying, I'm sorry, I thought you were the one, and then I moved back home the week later because I essentially moved out to get to know them. But when I look back, moving out, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. So it's like you think you're going for one thing, you're going for another, and it's like maybe I'll end up getting that at a later stage. Like it's 2 years since I met her or you moved out, and as you said, it was that when you get too tangled, you need to separate
You
to
need
find
to,
to
because you
find who
need
you
to
are.
be your individual self. Like that is the most important thing in these really strong soul connections, is that in the foundation, when you're creating the foundation of the relationship, that there is devotion to individuality. Because without it, it's going to be like a volcano, like you're just going to erupt, and so yeah, when we had our conversation on the phone almost a week ago, um, and we were like, okay, he was like, maybe a couple days to 2 weeks, and I was like, honestly, I could probably benefit from that as well. And I even said, I was like, of course I want to like plead with you and tell you like, please no, like keep talking to me for the next 2 weeks, but I know that if I just accept this and allow it to serve us, that's going to be so much better. And that was like, I'm still accepting it, but at the same time, like, I'm focused, I'm steadfast in my work, and I'm so grateful that he is taking the lead, even in the taking time to be separate, right? Because it's now giving me the opportunity to work through one of those fears, which was my financial security. Okay, now I've got another 2 weeks to like get my shit together. And I'm so freaking grateful that he's giving me the time and space for that. Of course, like, it's truly for both of us. And so, yeah, it's tricky though, because we are from a young age, especially in, most of our root chakras have been so jacked up. Our sense of security, our sense of foundation, anything that has to do with abandonment fears and all of that stuff, like all of us have been so tinkered with in our most baseline chakra that when we get put into these situations to test our integrity, it's like all I can do throughout the day is be checking in with my nervous system to make sure that the energy inside of me is flowing properly and I'm not like getting blocked up and stuff, because that will just put it off even longer. And for me, I'm like, I'm ready. And if I'm not ready, I'm getting ready. And so giving myself the opportunity to work with my nervous system through a connection like this, through the separation, and trust and have faith and love myself and cultivate myself even more so, is like one of the greatest blessings.
It's the same situation, right? Because she has a corporate job, she's got a house, mortgage, dog, right? The typical normal life, yeah. And if anyone else doesn't have that, then they're useless. I'm like you, free, traveling around the world, haven't got financial backing, live with my parents, yeah, because it's not about money. And then you realize, fuck, everything needs money. And then so 2 years ago, it was like, you haven't even got a job. Like I had long multicolored hair when I met her, like fucking hair longer than yours, multicolored, right? Hadn't, she's like, you haven't even got a job, haven't got any money. And it's like, it's true. Why would anybody want somebody without money, right? But obviously the connection is there, but the physical side isn't. And it's all true. And it's like, well, if there's a connection, then it shouldn't matter. And so as you were saying, you're like, why is your guy who's got, this money and business interested in someone who's fucking in Hawaii one minute and then Colorado the next. And it's all comes down to how you feel with that person's energy. And you take away the physical, money, house, mortgage, car, and it does come down to energy. Because if you did have money, well, it would absolutely work. So why wouldn't it work without the money? And
Right.
so, and I literally thought, well, maybe she's right. Maybe she's not the one. And I moved on, stopped speaking for ages. And then I found my, what I believe is my true twin flame, who at this moment in time has gone AWOL, as in she is just focusing on her. And that's it. You just speak every day for 1 year, every single day for 1 year, just gone. Like doesn't doesn't speak anymore. And then my the vice president twin flame, as in the one I met in London, just she's just come back because it was like vice president and president, right? And then it was, wow, I've come to the top of the mountain. Maybe the view isn't as good as I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? So you come back down just a little bit. It's like, wow, this view's even better because you can't breathe at the top because of the fucking oxygen, But at least you get the view and the anyway. So, and then this person's come back into my life, just natural. Like I'm not obsessed anymore. There's no need, there's no inspiration. What if she finds somebody else? It's just natural. Like my mind is, I was fucking obsessed. Like, oh my god, I found my twin flame, and then you push them away. So now it's just flowing, and so really, it's like what you think is going to happen doesn't happen, but you don't know until you move forward enough to realize. And if something is going to happen, then it will still be there in harmony, and you don't have to do anything because it's either meant to happen because you want the same things or you don't. But you only are going to realize that if you move forward. 2 years ago is when I last saw her. That's a long time, 2 years ago. And it was like we were at war. So it was like I've just got to completely let her go because every time I try and pull, it pushes her away. And that could be a 5 year, 6 year, 7 year thing.
Well, and I mean, really, it pull yourself in closer. Like in the moments where you feel like you need to draw somebody in, that's when you need to draw yourself in. At least that's from my experience. And we can't, I mean, just like what you're saying, yeah, we have to continue to take action, even just the tiniest action in our lives every day, because that's how we let the universe, God, creation, whatever, know that we're participating in life, right? And even if that means you're taking action is resting and trusting that that rest is serving you. Because anything that you do with doubt or shame in your mind, it's not going to serve you as truly as it can. So we need to continue to show up for ourselves first and foremost. And so like with the whole money aspect, right? It's all energy. Even money is energy. And so I don't consider myself to be low on resources. If anything, the opposite. I've traveled so much. I've connected with so many people, farmers in all different kinds of states. My network is probably in the billions because I have carried myself in a way that was like, okay, yeah, I am prosperity, right? I am abundance. And so I continue to attract people and experiences that align me with that. And so within the 2 years of balancing my masculine and my feminine energies, I was also doing a lot of work with prosperity consciousness and ridding myself of money blocks and these fears of, you know, wow, what happens if I am really successful and I do have thousands and thousands of dollars coming in every month? Like, am I going to lose myself? No, I'm still integrated. I'm still here on the same mission. And if anything, the money is just going to enhance my ability to accomplish the things that I feel have been put on my heart to do. And that's just that's my that's the vessel that I'm in and the way that Morgan is feeling about life, right? And some people are on the same exact mission as me, but they are filling a completely different role, and so they don't feel the need to call in millions of dollars. But I do, and it's taken me a lot of work to even claim that so openly, like right here, right now, you know, um, because there was such a shame within me around being a millionaire or whatever it is. But again, it's like, it's not for me, because what am I going to do with my money? I'm going to give it back to the earth. I'm going to give it back to life. I'm going to finance global wellness projects, whatever ones there are, whether it's donating a couple $1,000s a month to reforestation or soil regeneration or whatever it is. Like, if I want to make the impact in this life that I truly feel called to make, I have to honor the fact that in this world that we're currently in, of course, lots of things are shifting. Those dollar signs are going to be of service to me and therefore humanity and the planet. And I would say that that's something that each of us can really cultivate. And we really can. It takes some time for sure. It doesn't have to take time at all. I mean, really, you can jump timelines, whatever you want to do. Um, but it takes acceptance. It takes, like, truly acceptance and faith and trust that the fact that this is on my heart is pure. It's divine. It's not egotistical. It's not, it's just going to align me more so with the person that I want to be aligned with, you know? So, and I would say that that's a huge thing. It's a super masculine kind of energy to be like, this is what I want, universe. And then so feminine to be like, all right, now I'm going to let myself receive it. And you can apply that to anything.
Yeah, it's amazing because it's the same for me. I need money to buy a house and a car, right? But once I've got that, I will be at service to humanity. It could be building mud huts for Africans, building a tap for Africans, planting loads of trees, giving food baskets to the homeless in London, right? Going up to a random child and saying, "What do you want an Xbox? Here you are, mate. It's 400 quid." Like, there is nothing else I want to do. When I make enough money and I've got my shit together, I will be just my daily life, rather than people going to work. My daily life will be getting on a flight to Australia, flight to Canada, flight to Africa, and my time will be building that mud hut, planting those flowers, chopping down those whatever. Like, that's what I want to do. Service, right? But you need money because you've got to pay for the plane ticket, you've got to pay for the accommodation. Most of the time, people will give you accommodation for free because that's just how it works. You're famous, you're a good person. People give for free. They give food for free. They fucking grew it 2 seconds away from their doorstep. So what's there to pay for anyway? In terms of the flight, that might be a little tricky. I can use some vouchers and coupons or whatever, but that's all I want to do as well. Is once I've got my building to live in, whether it's a caravan, a fucking bus I've made done up, or a underground storage unit. Once I've got that shit, there's nothing else to do in life apart from serve. I'm at home, I'm bored. What can I do? There was a terrorist attack in China. Let's go over there and help. Oh, there was floods in Australia. Let's go over there. Oh, there was fires in Canada. Let's go over there. You know what I mean? It's like, there's no greater gift. It fucking isn't. Going over there with your checkbook, not just right. I don't believe in like charity, right? Because anyone can say, save this little donkey from starvation, save this little kid from his abusive parents. I write a check. The best feeling I got was writing that check and it's gone. I want to go over there and experience that feeling of going to the shop, buying a £5 t-shirt, and then going to the other shop, £5 pair of shoes, taking him out for lunch, then giving him that. Then staying over and doing the same again to his nephew or his aunt. That is a week's worth of feeling. Anyone can
Actual
write.
participation, right?
Exactly. It's like people who are shareholders. Yeah, they make loads of money. They can go on holiday. They can buy their car, but they're sitting in their fucking £2 million house. What? The breakfast table doing what? Looking out of his window. What? Bored shitless. He's not contributing to society in any way. I'd rather, at least be the chief executive and have something to do, and get less money than live off my dividends with fuck all to do, because there's just no feeling in that. But yeah,
Right.
that's what I want to do to pass my time by. Some go to the gym, some go to work. I'm popping to Peru to save these kangaroos that
Are there kangaroos in Peru?
trapped in their water.
So that's something that's really beautiful that we can do like throughout the day in any moment, right? You said, I'm bored. What do I want to do? As soon as that comes up, you can ask yourself, how can I be of service in this moment? If there's no one else around you, you don't have access to being of service to another being, then how can you be of service to yourself in that moment? And then do it, right? It could be meditating, it could be drawing and painting, it could be making yourself a delicious meal, or stretching, or going out for a nature walk, or dancing to some of your favorite music, or whatever it is, right? These things that instill pleasure in you. When you're feeling pleasure, you're feeling alive, right? It's like, you know, uh, kind of like cusping an orgasm in a sense, right? You're raising your energy up, filling your cup so that in the moment where you are feeling even more so ready to take whatever action, like you have all of the electricity running through your body to empower you to take that larger action. And so I've got this mantra that I've been playing with for a couple of years, and it's been really playing in my mind a lot, just this last like week and a half, um, because I just received a massive blessing and something that I was calling in. I wrote it in my dream manifestation journal in January of 2020 that I would have this, and I'll talk about it in a moment, by 2020. And I literally put the order in on December 30th of 2020. And it was insane. I had no idea how it was going to come to me. But this mantra that I've been using is something that I think is true. Like it's my truth. And I feel when something is a very strong truth, it's like almost unanimous. And we've been so far programmed away from it. But it is that your pleasure and your passion is your purpose and your prosperity. So my pleasure and my passion is my purpose and my prosperity. Whatever makes me feel so good, whatever lights me up, that's what I'm here to do. And that's what's going to continue to keep my energy circulating in such a magnetic way that I'm bound to align with prosperity, because prosperity is beyond just money, right? It's energy. It's you've got a plane ticket not because you paid for it, but because someone gifted it to you, because you are of value to receive that as a gift, right? You've already put out so much value into your field that you are now attracting the things that will continue to serve you, so you can continue to put that value out as you continue to also put it in. So yeah, the how can we be of service to ourselves? Like every single morning, first thing that we got to do when we wake up is serve ourselves, because how are you going to be the impact, be the change, be of service to anything else if you haven't checked in with yourself first?
Yeah, get that dildo out the drawer. Serve yourself.
No, not for me.
Have a chair leg. So what were you gonna say that you attracted on the 30th of
I just got my Kangen machine. So it's the Enagic is the company who makes these machines, and it's essentially it's a water ionizer, and it produces 5 different kinds of water, but kind of more than five. It basically sends the pH anywhere from 2.5 to 11.5. So you can replace every single household chemical. You can replace pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, fertilizer, um, hair conditioner, everything. And it's also the most hydrogen rich water that you can drink, especially out of a faucet. The machines were designed to mimic the water that comes out of the most pure springs that are left on the planet.
so first of all, was it given to you? Did you make money and then you bought it? So how was it expensive? Is it big? I don't
It's
understand.
over $6,000 American dollars. And a friend actually, who's also a distributor, was like, this lives in your soul. You are going to be so prosperous from sharing this machine. I want you on my team. So she put the down payment, the deposit down for me. And I'm making the
Amazing.
monthly payments, but I'm going to be able to pay her back and have money flowing into me in less than 2 months.
So does this company offer where they pay it in advance and then you pay them back, or is it like a unique thing she did specifically for you?
Yeah, so this company does that. I think the lowest down payment that you can put on there is like 1,300 American dollars. And then after that, you can do like $150 a month for about 2 years. And that's only if like you don't have money flowing into you that you could pay it off sooner. But it's also, um, I have a distributor ID as well now. So the first 3 sales that I make on the machine, I get like $300. The next 3 sales, I get like $600. The next 3 sales, I get 1,200, and then 1,600, and then 2,000. And then once I hit a certain point, and it doesn't have to happen within a certain timeline, I'm going to be getting 10,000 residual a month.
Shall I put the link in the podcast description?
Absolutely. Well, Hmm. So I don't have right now. I mean, I could maybe try and find it. I could definitely send you the link to the website, but in order for me to do all of that, I would basically process the paperwork for anyone who's wanting to purchase it.
Yeah, well, either way, we'll sort something out because you need the unique link. So when they click it, it comes back to, Morgan referred this link, in order to. But anyway, it might not be in the description below, but check it out because it might be if we can find a
It
way
might
to
be.
link it.
Well, I was actually one of the things that I'd like to do in the next couple of days, so maybe I'm not sure when you'll post this, is on my Squarespace website. They can fill out a form basically, and so I can just send you the link for that, and they can fill out the form, and I'll get an email, and I can be in contact with them.
Yeah, this is actually going to be going out in about 3 months or so, so it might be the perfect timing for when it all aligns up because that's the time you paid off your shit and all that type of crap. So who knows? Might be perfect alignment.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thanks so much.
What should we talk about now?
Um,
Ask me a question.
okay. So let me get the question that wants to be asked. Are you feeling fulfilled um, in your life right now? Are you feeling like you're in the space that you want to be in, or how is that going for you?
So I have been doing my podcast since literally, I think it's January, February. I've done 135 episodes, right? 135 hours. And I've never been consistent with anything that I've done, and therefore nothing has really built and manifested. Why? Because I didn't choose passion first, as you were saying. If you don't choose passion first, give up, because passion will always come back, right? As in, you'll always choose that over anything. And so, because I'm passionate about talking and teaching, I'm having this chat. It doesn't matter how many are listening, how much money I'm making. That's an addition. That's a bonus. I call that a poppadom with the curry in a restaurant. I've come for a curry, and I've got a poppadom. It's like, well, I could take it or leave it. So I am so happy because I'm getting I'm getting good views, right? Good views which will be able to monetize, which is fantastic. I, like you, went from the stage of wanting money, and then it was like, no, life is about love and nature and people. And then you realize, shit, everything costs money. So then I flipped my mindset. I'm an entrepreneur. I've always done business, but then I've just lost that part of me because I felt guilty as you did, right? And then you realize, no, because I can do so much with the money. So if I've got to be a greedy prick who wants to be a millionaire to serve others, I've got to do it. And so I've gone back to that mindset. I'm almost at the point where I can monetize. Everything is perfect because for me, I make it when I can travel to anywhere in the world, when I can come and see you, Morgan, in Colorado, and I can still do podcasts with anyone in the world, with you, your friends, your neighbors, and I'm making money where I am. And I can take that money from my bank account. You and me can go and plant some trees or help some homeless people in Colorado town center, and then just go back to your life and do whatever. That to me is the ultimate freedom and happiness. And I'm so close to getting it. And all I've got to do is be consistent. And
You're
consistency
already
is the secret.
there. You're just lining up the actions that are like pulling it into you even more so.
Exactly. I am so close. And really, all you can really do is choose passion, be consistent, and be true to who you are. Like, so many people do podcasts and they're like, welcome to this episode of the podcast. My name is John and this is Morgan, blah, 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 blah. It's fucking nonsense. It's fake. It's fucking nonsense. Yeah. It's like comedians writing their script and every night they say the same script at a different venue. That's a job. That to me is being in the call center, reading your script. Yeah, that's not fun. What's fun for me is not knowing where I'm gonna go, talking about sex and then talking about water machines, like the randomness. That's authentic, right? And I show every side to myself. There's no version I don't show. They're literally, and so for me, that is my freedom. That's my happiness, my peace. Just being me to the world, whether I'm with the Queen, my parents, you. That is really true freedom. Just being you. So really, that's what I'm promoting. Be you, regardless of what side you're showing. No one gives a shit. Everyone wants to be themselves. Everyone's got vulnerabilities and weaknesses. So just by being you allows people to be them, and then you realize you don't need to teach wisdom because their wisdom, your wisdom is you leading an example by being you, and others see that. And you can't make a horse drink the water anyway. You can only take it to the pond or whatever. So just be yourself. Like I'm inspired just by listening to you. Like I know this shit anyway, but just seeing that same story, very similar to me, it does make me smile because it just does.
Yeah.
And
I
that's why the
I
conversation is powerful.
it is, and I literally was, I think it was just even last night, I was falling asleep, and as this new person is in my field now, it took me about 2 years to get over that other person, and I can still feel his energy lingering a little bit every now and again, but just last night as I was falling asleep, it was like I could feel my consciousness just like totally shifting, like that's done, that's gone, and just totally, I believe it was in July when I called him for the very last time. Of course he didn't answer, um and I pretty much just left a voicemail and was like, this is the last time I'm going to call you, like if it's on my heart to send you love, I will send you love and prayers, but I cannot continue to live with this question mark in my life. And you left me with the biggest question mark in the world of like, I need to work on myself so that I can love you better, BRB. And then it's been 2 years and I'm like, okay, you're obviously not going to be right back. So I got to go. And even since then, it's taken some time to really fully allow that to disperse and leave me. And just even last night, you know, just the fact that one of the first things that you bring up is twin flames. And I kind of was just like, I'm gonna just drop the whole twin flame story completely, because now that I have had this person in my life, instilled something so deep inside of me to really balance my masculine and feminine energies, like maybe that's all that the twin flame journey was even there for me for, was to recognize that I have like my counterpart within me, and harnessing that so that when someone does come around, I just feel so whole and complete. And I'm not in a relationship to feel whole and complete. I'm in a relationship to have a freaking partner to make our dreams come true, like even more magnificently.
Yeah, so that's the thing. She worked on herself, the vice president twin flame. I worked on myself. We still haven't been with anyone else, like relationship wise, yeah. which means it's not being an energy enough to meet that our individual energies. So you could say, well, maybe there is something there. Maybe they might not be the twin flame, but as you said, if you're the twin flame, you repel. So you need that balance. Every time I used to say something, she would always counteract it and say, I disagree. But rather than wrong, wrong, fucking wrong, and have an argument, it would be, I disagree and here's why, and I'd understand why. So it was like fire, water, fire, water, fire, water. Interestingly enough, my actual twin flame, we share three planets, like major planets, like 90% the same, whatever. We're both Aquarius, which is I call fire, fire. If I remember rightly, she was the yin and the yang, the water symbol, and I was the fire symbol. As I said, when I would say something, she wouldn't get angry, she'd understand and compromise it. And it's like, well, fucking person has an opinion with everything. It's like, well, we're not going to get on because I'm opinionated, I teach, she's opinionated, she teaches. But we're not going to be teaching to each other. So it's not really going to matter. It comes down to just that feeling when you're with them. And it's like, well, maybe there is something there. Even though I let it go in my mind completely, as in I forgot the idea that, you know, this person, I thought she was the one, but maybe she wasn't. But then what I realized is that the future is unknown. My actual twin flame in 10 years' time, when I've got a fucking house, you know, it might come back. And then this person wants kids and I don't. That's when we depart. But at the same time, you don't want to say be present, realizing that person doesn't want kids and marriage, and you do. So you kind of get to the ninth year and you realize, well, I've got to start all over again. But at the same time, you don't want to waste 9 years of having nothing because you might not find that loving connection again. So it's like, what
And
do you
who's to
do?
say that that person will forever not want children,
No, no, no. She
right?
wants children, and I no, hang on a sec. No, she wants children, but in say 10 years' time, as I do not categorically not. My twin flame doesn't, right? So it's like the vice president wants to live with somebody, doesn't want marriage, wants kids or wants to adopt. My actual twin flame doesn't want marriage, doesn't want kids, would adopt if she had to, but doesn't really, and wants a dog. So it literally is the upgrade of she has my twin flame has the same traits as the vice president, but more in alignment with me than no kids. Does
Hmm.
that make sense? So it's like
Yeah,
the vice
absolutely.
president doesn't want kids, wants to live, doesn't want marriage. The vice president, the president doesn't want kids, doesn't want marriage, and doesn't want to live with anybody, which is exactly the same as me. So it's like, well, what the fuck do I do? I'm more in harmony. I'm in harmony with both. I'm at this moment in time more in harmony with the vice president, but the vice president isn't the one. But then if it's the one, you might repel. She can't do anything now for 10 years because we've not got our own house. The vice president has her own house. I haven't got a job. She wants somebody with money. And so really it comes down to choose right now, try to avoid the future, but kind of know the direction it might go and just be present like now, like even if it's for a
Yeah.
week, because you're battling with the future and the now, and people want the future to put on the calendar, but that doesn't exist. But then at the same time, we live in a world where we need to know what's happening tomorrow, you know, because tomorrow's Tuesday and today's Monday. So it's like, well, we kind of need to know, do you want the same thing or not? But it's like, there's no right or wrong answer apart from just if it feels good right now, fantastic. If you get feel guilty tomorrow, make a decision. And really, it's just this constant management of decisions. Like there's no twin flame. That's it. It's always fucking labels. It's like the labels drove me crazy.
And that's the same for me, and that's why I had to let go of the twin flame storyline, I guess. Was like it literally,
You both don't
it
think I'm
felt
their
like
twin
it
flame.
was weighing me down. After I got to a certain point, I was like, okay, at this point, it wasn't
It
doing much for me anymore. So
it
I
drove me
did the work.
crazy.
Yeah, no, and and not to say that we don't have those relationships, but what we need to do first and foremost every time is check internally what's going on
It's a
rather
cancer.
than seeking externally, right? Um, because that's something actually that kind of infiltrated this connection that I have with this guy right now is I was like asking I asked one person that was a mutual friend, just like a really brief question, like, hey, how's this guy? You know, you guys grew up in the same hometown or whatever. And he had some kind of comment to make because I mean, and I felt it. I felt it even before I asked him that I shouldn't ask him because I already could feel how much he compares himself to this guy. And so I asked him a question, and instead of giving me like a heartful, truthful answer, he gave me the answer that was in his comparison ego. And that affected me. And then there were some other people that I didn't ask the opinions of, but rather I was sharing the excitement. And even before I did that, I knew not to share that excitement because they've got their doubts and their stuff in their lives that as soon as I talk about my excitement, like all they can say is, oh, well, be careful. And so I'm like, well, I didn't ask you for me to be careful. I was just sharing something that was exciting with me, you know? And so I've been really kind of just like keeping a lot inside and just asking myself, like, okay, do I send a message right now? No. We agreed on a timeline. Okay, I'm not going to send a message. Okay, well, I really just want to say that I'm grateful. Okay, well, then just say that you're grateful. And if he responds, cool, but don't even respond back because you've agreed on a timeline of space. And,
Yeah.
you know, and I still like want to like call my mom and be like, Mom, I haven't gotten a message yet. Well, obviously, because we agreed on this timeline. And I don't need to receive that message because everything that I need is coming from inside of me.
Same thing in my twin flame. Like it was, we agreed to be distant, and I just had to say I'm grateful for our distance and that you're still here. And it's like that's the whole point. You need to stop communicating. Like it's that you're entangled, like entanglement, right? And yeah, it's just it's the same twin flame story. Like if you forget the word twin flame, it's just when you meet the same energy, that high, that, and then you're not it. And what was amazing is that this person, I had such an impact on this person's life, and yet I wasn't in her life, and that was really powerful to understand. How can essentially a stranger affect your life decisions so much? And it's like because it's the energy. Like I'm not a
Because you're not a
stranger.
stranger.
It's the energy, yeah. And that was amazing. Like, how can I affect your life when I'm not even in your life? And that was powerful. And it was like, yeah, we need to have a gap, don't speak. I told you not to speak. Okay, well, we said 3 months. It's 2 months and whatever 3 weeks, and it starts all over again. It's like fuck's sake, if I just wait another fucking month. And then you realize all this time is perfectly in alignment anyway. Like I was
Right.
supposed
Like
to
there's
talk
nothing to worry about.
I was supposed to talk, a month before the 3 month deadline because we needed 6 months. So you think you're making the wrong decision, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not, because that brain activity of wanting to send a message to your twin or whatever, that's energy based on energy out there that needs to be filled
Well,
type of thing. So you have
and
to.
they're putting it out as well, and I trust that. And I trust that in the moments where I have sent the messages that I've sent, and it's funny, it's like a guilty pleasure kind of like part of me is like shit and the other part of me is like, but I'm so glad that I did not repress myself in those moments,
It's
you
like it's
know?
like really needing to fart, but you could shit yourself, and it's like, well, is it worth the risk? And then you sort of fart. It's like, thank God for that. And it's like, oh, I still have a little patch in my pants, but it was worth it
What?
because suppressing something for me
Well, no,
is
because it alleviated maybe some tension or something.
I have a thing,
And you
right,
can
and it's like
always clean your pants, I guess.
exactly. So for me, it's like I never hold anything back because if I do, you'll never know, and it all comes down to not telling somebody I like them and then realizing they probably like me too, and then she fucked off with somebody else, right? So it's like every time I get a thought to send somebody a message or whatever, I'm gonna say it. I know the consequences of what could or couldn't happen. If it's meant to be, what I want will happen will happen. If it's not meant to be, then they'll respond in the way I don't want them to, and it wasn't meant to be.
And it doesn't even, if it's not meant to be, then it doesn't matter if you send the message or not. It's not going to be.
And it's
And
like I'd rather know
also,
now than in a few weeks' time than waste 3 weeks thinking about it. I'd rather get my answer right now than never know. So and what I've realized most of the time is 90% of what you already deep down knew that sending that message was a confirmation that it was never going to work, but they're not communicating it to you because for whatever reason. So it's like you don't have to reply back, but by you say seeing that message and not replying back affirms what I already knew. So they don't even need to reply back. It's just confirming that I knew this was the outcome. Thank you, universe, for using your subliminal indirect ways of confirming my thoughts.
And
But
I
you've got to
know that
send
if
that
I
message.
send a message, he will respond because he has responded to every message that I've sent thus far in the last almost week. It hasn't been many, you know. I'm not pushing buttons. I'm just like I'm feeling where there's the space and where it's safe to send that communication through and I don't have resistance, you know, because if I have resistance sending a message, then it's going to be met with resistance. Um, but I know that the more messages I send, the more likely he is to respond, the less space we're actually going to have that we both agreed upon. We knew we both needed it because I even actually was the one who initially talked about the need for space. And then he like was affirming and reaffirming. He's like it's okay, like you don't have to like withdraw from me and like all this stuff, right? And and then I continued to be like, dude, my emotions were like going whack. It was like so crazy. Like the first week of just meeting someone through our phones, and I'm like, my heart, I'm kidding you not, was like pounding through my chest for 5 days straight. And I was like, holy cow, like I'm terrified right now because is this the relationship that I've been calling in? You know, like, oh, like I said, I've been getting ready, but am I actually ready? And I'm like, yes. And if you're not, keep getting ready in these 2 weeks. Keep getting ready. And getting ready doesn't mean getting ready for him. Getting ready means getting ready for my purpose and my alignment and my pleasure and my fulfillment. And I have to honor this space that we've agreed upon, especially if I want it to like shrink a little bit, you know, and let him know that I'm not like, because there is such a wound, like it's talked about so much, right? That the wound between the masculine and the feminine and like the suppression and the wounds that the feminine have received from the masculine, but it's so not often a part of the conversation, the wounds that have been afflicted upon the masculine by the feminine. And it's this like overbearing mother, like you have to do what I tell you kind of energy. And so I'm like, I'm literally going to nurture this space and not overbear and allow him to know that my love is unconditional, whether he needs 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever. I'll communicate my preferences. Like, I'd rather it not be 2 years, you know, because I want to engage, but I also, because I've done so much celibacy, like, and I've just gotten to that space within myself that it's like, yes, sex, but way beyond it, that if I lined up with somebody and we knew we were in devotion with each other, and for whatever reason, some shit hit the fan and we needed like 6 months away from each other, like I could do that. I wouldn't be any kind of worried that I'm going to end up getting with somebody else. And I obviously, I guess like a thing, maybe like a worry that I do have is like, would they get with somebody else? But I'm also going to just trust that what the person shared with me before I even asked these kinds of questions, but just full disclosure was like, here I am. This is my MO. These are my values. Like, I didn't even ask the questions. He just like laid it all down for me. And I was like, okay, we're reading the same freaking chapter in the same freaking book. Like, let's go. Oh, you need 2 weeks? Me too. Let's take 2 weeks. Like, it's okay, you know? And we haven't been supported in society to be so accepting of the need for time and space away from our lovers.
Exactly. It only works when you have that space. You know, they say that ever patience is a virtue. The other one, fucking hell. Basically, you need time apart to appreciate them. Like it's like a quote, but it's fucking science. It's true. You need the time apart. Otherwise, they're just there. They snore next to you. They fart next to you. They shit next to you. They clean next to you. They eat next to you. You can't appreciate something that's there all the time. I like Chinese food. If I duck
There's going to
every
be
night,
friction,
I'd
like by
fucking shit
laws
to
of
duck.
physics.
Exactly. You need that gap. And what's amazing about the vice president twin flame is that normally with most people, I'm checking, have they seen it? I know they're not going to reply, and they don't reply. With her, never checked, and she always replied. What's interesting is most people, if they do, it's like the same time. With her, it was always a few days later, but I always knew I was going to get that reply to the point where I wouldn't speak for 2 days until I've sent that message because I just knew that she was going to reply. And after the journey we went on, she was still there. Why? Because she understood that obsessiveness of I've just met this big energy like me, and she flipped it and understood that she understood it in herself that that's what she was like. And then she said a year later that she thought she met her twin flame and she was obsessed like me. So it was just like we saw the same thing. Hence why she is still or was still here. Could have blocked me multiple times. She kept saying, "Look, I've told you so many times. Stop messaging me." She was clear. She was strict. She was firm, and I kept like kind of not intentionally pushing the boundaries, but I had to say what I needed to say because I'm not used to not saying what I need to say. I'm not used to being told keep it in because I'd do the opposite. And it was like she could have blocked me on numerous times, but didn't. She kept her ground, kept saying the same thing, firm, strict, and it worked. And it's like, wow, she
Mm-hmm.
tolerated like the worst forms of myself of just getting what I want, not being told no, still there. That's amazing. And you can only
Yeah.
do that if you are essentially the same energy because you've got to see the same in yourself, the same obsessive traits or the
You
same drive or
recognize where it's coming from. Yeah, you can't have anything but compassion for it to a certain degree.
right. Anything you want to say before we end on this high so we've got more to talk about next time? And you can promote your shit after, but just anything you want to finalize.
Um,
This has been a
I'm
fucking
just
good
really
podcast,
happy.
man.
Yeah, this is great. I'm stoked that we had this conversation. I've actually been wanting to have this conversation, for some time. And I've only ever, no, no, no. I have one guy friend who also considered himself to be, probably maybe still does, I don't know, in the Twin Flame Collective. But I've mostly only talking to women within the collective. And and so one thing that I do want to say is when you're getting and I tested it. I really tested it. I tested it with this guy and I'm like, it's okay that I tested it because it wasn't like it wasn't the kind of test that was going to make or break it. You know what I mean? Um, but this is an Abraham Hicks teaching, and it's that when you, especially in relationships, when you're entering a new relationship, you're laughing, okay. When you're
No, no,
entering a
I've
new
got something coming into
relationship,
my mind. It's like sticking a finger up your ass and knowing you won't get stuck. It doesn't do permanent damage. Anyway, continue. That's what I was holding back.
okay, um, you need to leave out all of your past relationship stories. Like, don't tell the stories of your past relationships in the new relationship. Like, to the best of your human ability, leave it out. Leave it all out unless you want to invite it in.
Yeah, it's like you think you're being honest by speaking about it. And it's like you're being honest, but I don't really need to know. So it's like
Can I
it's
just
it
love you right here, right now, without knowing about all of that? Like, kind of thing.
Yeah, and like some people, they want to know like previous partners and all that type of shit. And it's like, do they want to compare? Do they want to know because they want to know? Is it about getting to know the person? Or is it just if you're wanting to know, then you're never gonna appreciate them because you're always in the past and the future, so it's never gonna work anyway. But really, as you said, what it's saying is that you kind of go out to a restaurant, you eat your food, and then you go home, and then you get on with life. You're not thinking about the restaurant. You might be thinking about it when you're going to sleep, but the next day or whatever, you're not still thinking about the restaurant because every
Well,
day
you
there's
don't need to
something.
be going and talking about it all the time.
It's like, oh my god, that McDonald's 4 weeks ago, it's that burger, man. It was just juicy. It's
If you
like
think about it, like, okay, the thoughts they're gonna arise and that's okay, but you like to cut out speaking on those thoughts, right, is so incredibly important because I think we do, you know, sometimes we want to know maybe about a past person, a past relationship of the person that we're with, um, because it's like, oh, can I love them better than the person before them did? And even that, right? That's even bringing in comparison, and comparison is not serving us. It's really not something that serves us anywhere across the board. So even if it's like the most like loving intention of like, well, I just want to know what they've been through so that I can nurture them or whatever it is, like just trust that if you're meant to love each other well, you're going to love each other well. And it doesn't matter what their past story is in. If anything, just like contribute to writing the story that you want to write with them.
I will take on that last bit of advice. Don't speak to my vice president twin flame about my real twin flame because you is a fake, bro.
No.
You is a replica. You was never going to be the real one. So I get exactly that. Yeah, it's interesting. Right. Anything you want to promote?
Right now I have my chakra course out. So it's a foundational course. It kind of just gives you the most basic, but also intimate understanding of the chakra system. And then I do offer one-on-one support for people who are wanting to dive in deeper. I've got the water machines. And yeah, Tribal City is definitely making some way right now. And I will be starting to onboard people onto that platform, hopefully by springtime. So yeah.
Right. I'm going to end it there. Wait there.